algebra students, welcome back. We're in section 9.4. We're going to do example 2. We're moving away from graphing. I felt compelled that I at least needed to show you that you could graph these points and see if you saw a particular trend, whether it be a straight line, a parabola, or that hook shape that is typical for exponential. We're not going to graph this time. We're going to look for a pattern in each data set, and then we're going to, from that pattern, we're going to determine which kind of model describes the data. And for me, if you want to do all of these problems like this, that is fine. So I want to give you some freedom there that you don't have to graph unless you just really want to. Okay, so let's make a list off to the side. Okay, so linear is going to have that common difference. We've studied that before. We know what that's all about. If the y's are going up by means of addition, or they could go down because you could add a negative number, but if you're adding the same number to get to the next number in your y's, then that's linear. That's a straight line. Quadratic is like that, except it's going to have a common second difference. So we've had experience with that before when we studied quadratics. And then lastly, our exponential, they're going to have a common ratio. So we're multiplying to get to that next number. Okay? Beautiful. All right, I don't care where you start. I typically kind of spot check for exponential first. I don't know why I do that. It's just what I tend to go after. So have your calculators handy. If you're going to check for exponential, then you start with the second number and then divide it by the first number. So do 256 divided by 400. And you'll see that you're going to get 0.64. Now do the same thing here. Do 144 divided by 256. And oops, looky there. Two different ones. So guess what? This is not exponential. There's no way that it's exponential, okay? It's good to check. This is stuff you can do in your calculator. Not a big deal, okay? But that's what I would do, is kind of check that. So now, let's write down, looking for our common difference. And if we don't have a common difference, which is fine, then we'll look for a common second difference. All right, so we just eliminated exponential off the list there. So let's do 400 minus 256. Well, that means I'm going down 144. So I'm going to put that minus sign there because I am going down. So 400 minus 144 is going to give me 256. All right, so let's do 256 minus 144. Okay, now that's a little different. That's down 112. So I can already tell that it's not linear because I don't have a common difference. But I do want to verify. So I'm going to do one more, 144 minus 64, and I went down 80. So clearly, they're all three different numbers. It's not a common difference. So let's check for a common second difference, because I have a very strong suspicion, 99% sure this is going to be quadratic. So negative 144 minus a negative 112. I want to find the difference between these two. All right, so I'm going to add 32. So negative 144 plus 32 is going to give me negative 112. Okay, now let's do the difference between negative 112 and negative 80. And that's also 32. So to get from negative 112, I would add 32 and get negative 80. So right there, there's your convincing evidence. This is definitely quadratic. That's awesome. Good job. Okay, the numbers verified it. We pretty much eliminated the other two answers, so we already kind of knew, but the numbers verified. All right, let's look at letter B. Value of a car. So as soon as you buy a car, it's going to go down in price. It just, its value decreases as soon as it drives off the lot. I always like to check exponential. So let's do 17,000 divided by 20,000. Okay, I got 0.85. Now let's do 14,450 divided by 17,000. Again, I got 0.85. And then let's do $12,282.50 divided by 14,450. And that's also 0.85. Okay, guess what? We have a common ratio. This is exponential, definitely. I found a common ratio of 0.85. All right, so the quick checks for you. Find a method. If you want to check exponential and then do exponential, then linear, then quadratic, whatever you're not ever going to do quadratic first because you need the linear numbers to do quadratic. So you either start with linear and do linear, quadratic, exponential, or you do exponential, linear, quadratic. However you want to do that's fine. All right, thanks for listening.